Hi, so this is my virtual library. This is my contemporary realistic fiction section. So in this section, I have the book Frindle, which is a good book, but it's for like younger students in 4th grade. And then I have 13 Reasons Why, and then I have my favorite book, which is this book. This book is actually about a 15-year-old girl. Her name is Jennifer, and she's actually forced to tell her family that she does in fact have an eating disorder and she needs help with it. So that one's a really good book, and I thought like to have older students, maybe like middle school and up, read that book would be a little more eye-opening, because that is something that actually happens with some students and they shouldn't be afraid to like tell someone and stuff like that. And then my second section is fantasy. So in the fantasy section, the Harry Potter Complete Collection is my favorite. Honestly, all of the books are really, really good, but my favorite would have to be the second one, which is Chamber of Secrets. And I think maybe kids from 5th grade and up, this is a very good book collection for them to start reading. And then this is my historical fiction book. So this is I Survived the Titanic, Number the Stars, and then this one right here is actually my favorite, The Freedom Trip. And this is about a kid who's actually like going on a journey from North Korea to South Korea. And his dad is actually waiting for him at the border, but for him to have this new life and stuff, he needs to leave his mom, which is actually very sad, but it's a really good book. This is my informational bibliography section. A Butterfly's Life, Courageous People, and Anne Frank. Personally, I liked all 3 of these books a lot, but my favorite would have to be A Butterfly's Life. I really like how this book goes into detail, and I love how the pictures show from when the butterfly starts off as first a caterpillar and then it just evolves, and I really like the pictures that they have in this book. And then this is my literature representing diverse populations. My Friend Has Down Syndrome is one of my favorite books. The Name Jar is another one of my favorite books, and This Day in June is also one of my favorite books. So it was kind of hard picking just one, but I really like all 3. This one I really like because, you know, some kids are just so mean to people that look different, and I really like how this story kids don't really want to be her friend at first, but then eventually they learn about her and her disability and they end up really liking her. This one is about a girl that she doesn't like her name because it's a different name than her peers, and then she wants to change it, and she spends the whole book trying to change her name, but she ends up sticking with her name. And then this one, it's a really good book, and I think it brings light to the LGBT community, and I think that's something that's important and should be introduced to students at a younger age, because, you know, with all the hate and stuff that's going on, it's not okay, and I think kids need to realize that love is love and it doesn't matter who they love. And then my next section is poetry. So this is Where the Sidewalk Ends, Spider and the Fly, and Swimming in Chocolate. So in this section, my all-time favorite book since I was little, is The Spider and the Fly. This book is about a spider and a fly, and the spider, he lives in like this mansion, it's really nice and stuff, and he lures in the fly, and the fly is just kind of, at first she's like no, and then the spider's very good with his words, so that's kind of how that book goes. And then you see the ending. I really enjoy the message that this book has, because I feel like, you know, that the way the spider talks to the fly is kind of a way that like certain people lure in their like praise and stuff in their real life, and that, you know, it leads to bad things, but it's a message that we all have to come behind. My next section is science fiction. This is Trapped in a Video Game. This is Stephen King, 11/22/63, and this is 1984. So in this section, 1984 and 11/22/63 are my two favorite books in this section. 1984 is a good book, but the Stephen King one is, I think, a little bit better, and I think more students should read it because it does bring light to how things can happen if certain things didn't happen. So in this book, it's about John F. Kennedy, and someone actually goes back in time to try to save his life multiple times, but each time he goes back into time, he changes the present day, and it sometimes doesn't have a very good outcome. And then in the traditional literature folk tales, we have the Grimm fairy tales, we have the 5-minute stories, and we have the Mexican folk tales. So in this section, I like all of them, but the Grimm fairy tales is my favorite. I think the Grimm fairy tales are very unique, and they are a little more realistic, and they do have more of a message behind how people end up being when they are treating others mean, and sometimes everything is not how it seems. And yeah, that's my virtual library.